Hi, my name's Lezanne Clannachan and I'm delighted to be on Waterstones.com to talk about my new book, Jellybird. Jellybird is about a young woman called Jessica Byrne whose life starts to unravel when she meets a new friend. And up until the moment that she meets this Libby Hargreaves, her life is pretty good. She is married to architect Jacques, they have a great marriage, and she's becoming quite a successful jewellery designer. But within a very short period of time, Libby becomes quite a fixture in her and Jacques' relationship. And she begins to feel really uncomfortable with the tension that she's feeling between her husband and her new friend. Now, instead of confronting it, she allows herself to be distracted by the discovery of an old postcard. And this postcard was sent from her first love, Thomas, who disappeared, presumed drowned, 17 years ago. And she just throws herself into the journey of finding out what actually happened to him on that night. And along the way, she uncovers a whole lot more than she bargained for. There is an unsolved, very brutal murder. There is a whole web of lies and secrets. And ultimately, she is going to be forced to confront the truth of what's happened between Libby and her husband, Jacques. And my inspiration for Jellybird was literally a single image. I have no idea where it came from, but I had this really strong picture in my head of a young woman standing on a beach, a really desolate, windswept beach, and looking out to sea. And I really wanted to know what was going on in her life and what was haunting her. And I had two themes which I was really fascinated in. And one of them is the idea of what constitutes infidelity and whether it has to be like a physical act of betrayal or whether it could be something as intangible as an attraction. Because you can govern your behaviour, but can you govern and control what's in your heart? And I love the idea of having Jacques, Jessica's husband, this really moral, upright, decent man who she trusts not to behave in a way that's going to hurt her or let her down. And yet, how can she control what's in his heart? And that's really the conflict for Jessica. I was also interested in the theme of first love and how that sort of heightened, overblown emotion is really supposed to be something that dies a natural death and peters out. And then I was interested to see what might happen if a really dramatic event interrupts that sort of natural flow. And so for Jessica, Thomas vanishes, he's presumed drowned, and so their relationship ends really violently and abruptly. And I imagined that instead of her being able to grow out of that childhood infatuation, that might actually stay with her and become a warped, preserved thing into her adulthood. So when she's got the opportunity to go and find Thomas, she can't resist. But can she trust her memories of him? Can she trust the person she thinks he is? And also how she feels, because it was a childhood emotion and she is now an adult. I'm working on a book about a girl called Pia who returns from holiday to find that someone has mistakenly picked up her suitcase at the airport and walked off with it. The next day, the suitcase is returned, minus her holiday photographs. And then over the coming 3 or 4 weeks, those photographs return in little scissored pieces. There's one on her garden path, there's one stuck to her front door, and eventually inside her house. And she has no idea who's doing this to her and what it means and why they're doing this. And the fear of being watched and stalked and terrorised really drives her indoors. And after a while, she just finds she can't leave the house. And we see her again a few years down the line, and she's house sitting at a very unique and beautiful old building in the centre of London. It's an 18th century house that was built to house a private collection of books. And she takes in lodgers to help her pay the rent and the maintenance on this building. But she's very particular about the kind of lodgers that she wants in. She only wants to let her rooms out to people who really need a safe haven and sanctuary, just like herself. And of course that means they come with their own baggage, their emotional baggage, their troubled pasts. And before long, the danger that Pia feels she has successfully kept outside of her 4 walls finds its way into the house.